It's 17 minutes after 7 o'clock. We come back from Athletes in Action. Andy Dethridge in here talking about ministering to athletes. When I made that statement of statistics, it's like the rest of us, we wince. We'll but there it is. 7:17. Back with more in a moment.
I know you've cast my sin as far as the east is from the west, and I stand before you now.
7:23 now, Joy 620 WRJZ. It's the Bob Bell Show, and we're underway with Andy Dethridge of Athletes in Action. Andy, exactly what do you do with AIA?
Well, Bob, I work with what we call our sports complex. It's one of the many departments of Athletes in Action that a lot of people around here may not be familiar with. It's actually located at our headquarters in Xenia, Ohio, which is in the southwest part of Ohio, in between Cincinnati and Columbus. And within our sports complex, we have about 7 different synthetic turf fields. We have a lot of different groups come in and use our facilities for their different training and resource needs, whatever meets their athletic department, and then we try and serve them and minister to them while they're on our campus.
Now, when you talk about ministering to athletes, and you heard us talk to Roger Woods earlier, you know, what are some special challenges you face in ministering to today's 2012 athlete?
Well, it's a really good question. There's actually a lot of competition, really, for the minds and hearts of athletes that we try and minister with. And
for all young people.
And really, one of the big things that we have a lot of competition for these athletes are things like drugs and alcohol. And that there's a study from the National Student of College Drinking found that athletes actually have a higher percentage of drinking than their non-athlete peers do. And we think,
really,
well, why might that be? And when they have all this success with their athletics, why do they have to turn to something outside of their success in their sports? And really, as Christians, we know that the reason that they're doing that is because they're missing Jesus Christ. So that's really what we're all about, and what we're trying to tell them is that, hey, there's so much more than just success on the athletic field. So the athletic success has not filled that void in their heart. That's completely correct. So one of the things that you do is you're able to build relationships. How do you do that? I mean, some of these athletes are big-name athletes, but yet they're still in need a lot of mentoring and counseling and somebody older like you to come along and say, hey, I've been there. Absolutely. And really, when we talk about trying to reach people and trying to minister to people, within Campus Crusade and Athletes in Action, we have a 3-step process, and that's what Win, Build, Send. The first step that we want to do in these athletes' minds is win them for Jesus and give them an opportunity to respond to the gospel and the love of Jesus Christ, because many of them have not grown up in church, like the stat you mentioned earlier about coming from single-parent homes. They just haven't grown up in this Christian environment. So we want to give them that opportunity to respond to the love of Jesus Christ. And the second step is build. We want them to start getting involved in a Bible study on their campus and on their athletic teams. It's called discipleship. It's really what we want to be about, is these spiritual movements on campuses and discipling into the minds and hearts of these athletes. And the third and final step of that process is send. We want this to be a replicating process where now that they are spiritually mature athletes and disciples, we want them to go back out to their sports teams, their homes, their peer groups, and begin to share that love of Christ with them. Well, congratulations. You're in the D-squared process. Disciples creating disciples. That's what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 28. That's what we're to be about. How do people come alongside Athletes in Action and help? Is there a way that we, places we can donate? I mean, it's a nonprofit, but how do we do this? We're going to want to help. Sure. You can go to the website, athletesinaction.org, athletesinaction.org, and there's places on the website that you can donate, get involved. There's opportunities for people to come in and do internships, do stints, so short-term mission trips overseas, actually join with sports teams that we send overseas. Right. We had some coaches actually from the University of Tennessee help out with one of our basketball trips last summer. And just so many different ways that you can get involved and be a part of ministering to these athletes. Well, it's an exciting time because the fields are wide into harvest, especially where you are. And we pray for Athletes in Action to have that great impact. I want to thank you for being on the show with us. It's tremendous what you're doing. If you could say one thing, to parting words, just to the general populace out there, people who are in churches, how would you have us to pray for you? Well, Bob, there's really a lot of different ways that you can pray for athletes in action, and for me as well. I would probably say that one of the biggest ways is that you would just continue to show us the best way to minister to these athletes. Because there's really we have the opportunity to share the gospel with over 100 million people annually through Athletes in Action.
That's incredible.
And it really is. And there's so many different ways that we can go about doing that, and so that God would continue to show us the best way to minister athletes on campuses and on their sports teams.
Whew. Boy, keep up the good. You're making me tired, man. No, keep up the good work. Andy Dethridge, thank you very much from Joy 620.
Thank you, Bob.
We're proud to be, somewhat associated with ministering to the athlete here in the East Tennessee area and all over our listening area. Lots of athletes who even come from good families and good backgrounds that also still need mentorship and other peer leadership. And that's what they do. Athletes in Action, helping make disciples who make disciples.
Yep.
Cool. I dig it. Hey, man, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.